This is Abnormal Entertainment.
2, 3, 4. Walked into the tunnel just to find the light. Hunted for old demons, looking for a fight. Looked up at the stars, seemed to go forever. There must be a way, it all fits together. Fell into the quicksand, held on to the vines. Never could quite color, stay within the lines. Feels like I have wings, I can fly wherever. This is just a way, it all fits together. Finally saw the world through rose-colored glasses. Gonna share my journey to small and large masses. Give up on my life, no sir, me never. This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together.
Hey everybody, this is Daniel Carsley. Welcome to another episode of Put It Together. I'd like to start as usual thanking my producer, Mr. Kevin Moyers, for all his help and support. Inviting everybody to check us out at abnormalentertainment.com, where you can find all the shows on the network. This week I'm excited. Well, I'm excited with all my shows, but this week I'm excited because I always like when folks from out of town come and I can meet them in person instead of doing it over Zoom. Aaron Barnes, how you doing, sir?
Great.
Aaron, I found we kind of connected on Instagram. I can't remember if you followed me first or I followed you first.
Good on social media.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I read on there that you were a sober coach.
That's correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I got curious, messaged you, and it just happened that you had a trip coming out to California, and here we are.
Here we are.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. I love it here. So.
But you were in California before, right?
I lived in California for a short bit. Home is Omaha, Nebraska. But yeah, I spent quite a bit of time in Southern California. It's a very special place to me for many reasons. So yeah, this is one of my favorite places for sure.
The only reference I've ever had about Omaha, Nebraska is steaks.
Oh, yeah, I guess we have a lot of steak there. Omaha steak. There's a lot of great steak restaurants. So yeah, beef is something they do well back home.
Which is one of the reasons I would want to go, just because I'm from Texas.
Oh, yeah, you get it.
So yeah, we're good meat people in Texas.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like we have a long story, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Aaron Barnes, how do you put it together?
Well, let's see here. Well, I think the main thing, how we got here to this point, to this trip, is probably the best way to start is how we're sitting right here, is I came back to Los Angeles and to more or less celebrate my 4 years of sobriety. I turned 4 years sober on March 6th.
Congratulations.
Thank you very, very much. It's been an awesome journey. I actually went to my third rehab in Southern California. I went to Passages and had a very life-changing experience at that institution. And I have only great things to say about them and their staff. It was the place that I was finally able to find my pathway to long-term recovery.
Nice. Can we start with that? Can we talk a little bit about your non-sober history?
Yeah, my non-sober history. So prior to my March 6, 2015 sober date, I had struggled with addiction for about 20 years off and on. Growing up, there was drugs and alcohol were not really something that I was spoken to about. I was, I guess, a little bit in the dark. I was raised in a small town in Missouri and had a great childhood for the most part. Had a loving family, twin sisters, mom and dad, and we were all pretty close. We grew up without a lot of money things, and my dad worked our way out of what I would say poverty, and we were pretty thin in the wallet. So growing up, so with that often comes a sense of bonding in a family where you have each other. You don't have a lot of things, but you have each other. So I had a great family, and when I was young though, probably my first real struggle in life was I was bullied at a young age because my ears used to stick out.
Really?
Yeah. I guess it's funny. I see a movie, a Disney, I think, is about to launch a movie that is very personal to me called Dumbo. Yes. I see that it's coming out. When I saw the advertisements, I'm like, oh my gosh. So anyway, when I was growing up, kids can be mean sometimes, and
yes.
and one of the favorite nicknames for me was Dumbo, and because my ears stuck out. So at a young age, I had some experience with bullying, and it was hard on me, and I hated the way it made me feel. You start to it hurts your self-worth, and you start to, kids making fun of you and stuff. And then from that, there was a lot of fighting, because my instant reaction, especially in a small town in Missouri where it was, hey, go behind the barnyard and fight it out type mindset, right? It's just the way you did it back home back in those days. And I didn't like that. I hated the way it made me feel and the feeling I got from violence. And it just was a tough thing at a young age. But anyway, so whenever I turned, I think, 10 years old, my family joined the Mormon church. And and that for me was a trivial experience because I know that my family had nothing but the right intentions, and they really liked a lot of things the church had to offer, and several of them are still Mormon to this day. I have nothing bad whatsoever to say about their beliefs or anything of the sort. In fact, I think it's great. It helped strengthen our family bond even more. I learned some things from the faith that I still to this day value and appreciate and use in my life. A lot of great values in that organization. But for me, it was confusing. I didn't, number one, I really didn't enjoy sitting in church for 3 hours on Sunday. As a kid, that 3 hours is a long time.
Yes.
And then there were just some things that I didn't understand and necessarily agree with. But of course, when you're growing up, your parents just try to do what they think is best. Right. There was no ill will in any part of this. It was all out of love and faith and so forth. And so, but the problem I think was for me growing up was there was a lot of taboo that surrounded certain things where drugs and alcohol were more or less talked about as just don't do that. There was really not a lot of why I should do that. Right. It was more just don't do that. We don't do that. And so I was not very well versed when I got to college. And so when I got to college, I'm kind of giving you the Cliff Notes version here, of course, but I was not prepared for what was about to be presented to me. And I lived on my own for the first time. Right. And really just got into the college life. I got deep into partying and drinking and joined a fraternity, pleasure fraternity, and girls and sex, drugs, rock and roll, right?
But that's true for so many of us when we're kids. Our parents think that if they don't talk about it when we're young, we're not going to think about it as we get older.
Yeah, and that couldn't be further from the truth. I was like, this is what they told me not to do, and I was just overwhelmed, I suppose, with just the freedom I felt, and then I wasn't able to handle it. And I was always kind of a go big, go home personality. And so when I got to college, I really went through a pretty wild ride. And in my early 20s, I even experimented with lots of drugs and things and places, spring break, etc., that really just sent me off the rails in the other direction. I was living anything but the lifestyle and that my family had taught me, I suppose, or showed me. I went very much the opposite direction. So I even got into, for a while, some drug trafficking, which was a very interesting thing that happened in my life. Chasing it seemed like it was fun and exciting and even almost cruel in a weird way. But that definitely exposed me to some interesting things in that world. It's very different than a lot of people understand.
And before we move on, when you went to college, what was your goal?
I didn't know. That was another thing. I was never really good in school. School wasn't my thing. It was hard for me to do the status quo, study, take a test. That just wasn't how I learned. So I wasn't really always, I was never a straight A student. Maybe an A in charisma. You know, all the subjects, right? You know, I was a BC student. And so you know, college was just more of a formality, it seemed like go to college, get a degree, figure out what you want to do, et cetera.
Right.
And so I started studying marketing. I really enjoyed, you know, I enjoyed sales, and I was always a little salesman. At a young age, I'd do door to door, like Christmas card sales, and I had my own little baseball card business. So I was always into kind of, you know, entrepreneurial. Yeah, that was always kind of my thing. So I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. It was more of just go through the motions and see what comes of it. Well, so I didn't have a lot of direction, I suppose is a good way to put it. And, so I started studying marketing, and at a young age, I met a girl, a small town girl that I kind of fell head over heels in love with, but I really did not love myself. I was unhealthy. I was doing all kinds of things I should not have been doing. I was dishonest with her and myself. And through that relationship, she became pregnant. And I had my first child, my daughter, at a young age, and that was probably the first in my adult life real time I felt shame and guilt, remorse, anger. A lot of emotions come when you're a young man that has no direction and really doesn't want to be a dad. You know what I mean? I was in college and want to hang out with my buddies, and that all came to a screeching halt. And so I tried to do the right thing. I really did. And I tried to be a dad. I tried to clean up my act. But I was too immature, too irresponsible. I was selfish. And she eventually moved away. And not long after, I didn't see her for 15 years. I didn't see my daughter. Yeah. So that was a tough thing for me. That was deep inside. That did something to my soul. You know, really, it's okay. It hurt it was a hard thing to process. And so, especially with my family beliefs of the Mormon religion, I kind of thought family's everything in that faith, and then I kind of destroyed this little family, if you want to think of it that way. So.
I'm going to ask, because I was raised Catholic, and a lot of things in my life that were not Catholic.
Yeah, it's very not Catholic.
They put you against, I mean, you're pitting yourself against the wall, and there's all these daggers, no matter what direction you move in. It's either religious guilt, family guilt, personal guilt.
Yeah. Combination of all.
Yeah, and you're pretty much, and there's a lion, an alligator, and a squad with guns. Like, which way do you run?
Yeah.
Well, because I'll hit 12 years clean and sober this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And so I definitely understand what you're talking about. It takes you, behind you there's a slide that just takes you further down into it. Was that true for you?
It did. That was the beginning of the slide, really, you know, where I lost my way, and I think the sense of where I lost control, I didn't have any control over the situation, you know. I felt helpless to a certain extent, like I knew I should be doing this, but I was too dumb, too naive, too immature, all those things, you know, too young, to all these things to really pull it together. And my desire to live the college kid life overrode the ability to buckle down and be a dad.
And if you're not clear-headed, anything that has responsibility attached to it.
Yeah, right? A big responsibility, and I had no answer for it, you know. And so that went on. I tried to, you know, salvage it off and on, but it was too far gone, and rightfully so. I hold no blame of any kind to anyone in that situation other than myself. So a couple of years went by, and I met another girl, and we dated long distance, and she ended up getting pregnant. So now I got my hands really full, and the shame and guilt and embarrassment really stacked up. And I had started to use drugs and alcohol more to cope with a lot of these feelings. You know, I don't want to say that I was unlucky, because they're two beautiful girls that are amazing in every way, and they have a right to be as much as I do or you do. And it's the way it was meant to happen. But for me at the time, I had no coping skills to get through this. I just more or less hated myself.
How old were you at this point?
Probably about 23 at this time.
Wow.
Yeah. So now I'm kind of wearing that badge of 2 kids, 2 women, and it was, for me, it felt like the weight of the world. I really began to dislike myself at a young age. And then I knew what I was doing was wrong, but I just, it was like a cycle that I just couldn't seem to get out of. And, kept partying. And well, then, so she, I ended up giving her up for adoption. That was a very difficult decision. But her mother asked me to do that, and I agreed. And based on the way that our relationship ended wasn't, healthy in any form. She got remarried, and I gave her up for adoption. That was a difficult, decision. So 8 years went by. So I met another girl. I started dating her, and I dated her till I was 30. That was my first real long-term relationship. We dated for 8 years, and my drug and alcohol use continually got worse and worse. I continued to turn to drugs and alcohol I had my coping mechanism. How I escaped. I was wanting to escape, as you can probably imagine, from a lot of things and feelings and thoughts and confusion and then recklessness. I had tasted success at a young age, and in my early 20s, I started working in an industry where I did very well, and so I tasted financial freedom at a young age, which was a complete enabler.
Right.
Good
money, yes.
Money was, it did me no favors, we'll call it.
Yeah.
I had what I want, did what I want, where I want, when I wanted, and just, became consumed with just working hard and playing harder. So, I had been to rehab already by the time, I guess I'll back up. I had gone to rehab because my first daughter's mother found drugs in my coat one time and presented it to my family, and they kind of did the whole intervention thing. And, hey, Aaron, if you love us, you'll go. And so, of course, I went, and I had no really deep down intention of stopping. It was more or less just to please everyone. So I went to rehab for 30 days, and then when I turned 30, my girlfriend of 8 years, she got pregnant. And I really felt like, okay, this is it. You're going to have to do something. This is it. You can't let this happen again. So we got married in a short amount of time. And I think at that point I just wanted out, of my thoughts and the world of yuck I had created.
Right.
And I also felt a lot of sorrow for my daughters that I didn't see. Plus, I'd wonder about them all the time and think about what they were doing and what they thought about me and things like that. And it was a very dark place for me that I had created. I had no one to blame. I had done it. And I think that's what made it even harder, was looking in the mirror and going, you did this. No one but you did this. And so when I turned 30, and Kim was pregnant, I went to, that was when I went to my second rehab, to try and, figure some things out. And,
now going into the second rehab, cause I went through rehab too.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I learned while I was in rehab about folks that came in is you have to go in with at least half of the right intention for it to function.
I think I probably had about 20%. And
does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to quit. I just didn't know why. I didn't know why.
Why you wanted to quit?
Yeah, I was like, this is my escape. This is how I cope and deal. I didn't know this is my answer for everything. So I didn't know any other way, to be honest with you. And so anyway, went to rehab, tried to get it put together, came home. Her and I worked things out to a certain extent, but the drugs and alcohol just came back almost immediately. It wasn't very long. And
because you weren't ready.
No, not even close. Things spiraled out of control. Well, rightfully so. She filed for divorce, and so that was what I like to refer to as my knockout punch, because what I had created in my mind, Daniel, was now you got 3 kids with 3 women. You're a known party animal. You hate yourself deep down. You really don't know where your life's going. It's kind of a live for today type thing. And I had tried to quit using and drinking before, but was unsuccessful. So I really thought, this is your life. You're stuck with this. And that's where the divorce for me was so brutal. I mean, it was one of those divorces that were just nasty, emotionally, physically. I mean, let's just say without pointing fingers, it got ugly. And the fact that I was on paper as being an addict, because I'd gone to rehab, so I was clearly on paper. I was that guy. The judge wasn't partial to any of my arguments or pleas, right? He saw this financially successful guy, 3 kids, this picture that was painted.
You were definitely a Lifetime movie of the week.
Yeah.
It didn't have a very good ending.
No. And then it was and financially, I mean, it was devastating.
Let me ask you this though. Were you, because I remember my lowest point, not being fully conscious of all the destruction around me. Like it took me the 3 months in rehab to finally realize, like, oh crap, like I did some damage.
Yeah.
Were you fully conscious of everything?
No, I think I was in denial because to think about the damage I'd created was almost unimaginable. Like I blocked it out to a certain extent. I thought, how am I ever going to clean up this massive mess that I created? Is it even clean upable? At some point I asked myself, is this even, what is the answer at this point, other than just,
Because there's no way sometimes in that situation to put the pieces together. Like, there's this huge puzzle and there's all these people, emotions, feelings, situations that you need to put together, but you don't have like the box or like sample.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know how it's supposed to look. Does that make sense?
Yeah, my roadmap to how to put it together was filled with coffee stains or something. I mean, it was a mess. I mean, I had no answer. I didn't know what to do. There was no blueprint to get out of this. And
so you're not the judge's.
No. He let me have it, is a good way to put it, and lost custody of my son, which was devastating because I really thought I was going to try, and this time I'm not going to do this again. I'm not going to lose another child. I'm not going to do it. I've got to figure something out here. So for the next 8 years, after my divorce was final, I didn't really date. I felt that I wasn't worthy of love. And what really puts this into an interesting perspective, Daniel, is that I had read a book in my 20s. I think it was one of my breakups with my ex-wife. It was called The 5 Love Languages. I don't know if you've ever heard of this book. It's fairly popular, or well known, but The 5 Love Languages, and the premise of the book is more or less there's 5 ways that humans feel love, and each person, I won't go over them, but my way that I felt love, and it was clear to me that it was quality time. Is how I as a human feel love. Yours could be acts of service or receiving gifts or physical touch, but and if you speak a different language than I do, as a couple, whatever, then we have to learn how to speak the other one's language, because just because I feel love, quality time may not be that's how you, but I'm always trying to spend quality time with you thinking, oh, you should feel love, right? That's how I feel it. But if that'd be like me speaking Chinese and you speaking Spanish, we can't communicate.
Right.
It's not that we don't want to, it's just we can't. I don't know how, so we have to learn your partner's love language, and sometimes you get lucky and it's the same, right? But anyway, so I had concocted this thing in my mind because I knew I felt love as a human through quality time, spending quality time with my partner. And I had really come to a place where I believed without a shadow of a doubt that I was going to grow old alone. No woman in their right mind is going to want to be with me. No way. I wouldn't want to be. I was damaged goods. I had baggage upon baggage and a rehab, divorce, 3 kids, 3 women, no party animal. I mean, I was this, my resume was a little bit, questionable.
Definitely in the red flag checklist.
Red flag,
Even as a gay man right now, I'm thinking, damn, dude, let me walk away from this.
I'm flying the biggest red flag known to man.
Yeah.
And so I had created this place in my mind where I'm like, man, the way you feel loved, you'll probably never feel it for the rest of your life. And for me, that was probably bottom, where I thought, man, this is it. You're growing old alone, and that sucks. And you did it, and welcome to your lonely life.
Yeah.
With children you may never see.
But that's a really good first step to, like, cleaning up your life. It's like acknowledging at some point going, this is, like, I am not. Because if you, at least in my drug and alcohol career, I kept thinking, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay. Like, I'm so hot. Everybody used to want me. But the moment that I realized, like, I am really screwed was the beginning of, like, the change of paths for me. So I think for a lot of people, that's a good place to be if you really want to change your life.
I think for me, it was more of the road seemed long. Because number one, I didn't know if I would ever be able to quit using or drinking. I thought I hated drugs and alcohol, but I did them. And so self-hate, there was no self-love. I had slowly began to get overweight, unhealthy. Everything about my life seemed unmanageable, and to me was a sense of helplessness and a lot of alone time.
Yeah.
And so I began to isolate even further, which is very common amongst addicts, is that you isolate even further and quit wanting to be around people. So I got deeper and deeper and deeper into drug use until I turned 36, and I was introduced for the first time to oxycodone. And that was all she wrote for me. And that was the beginning of the end.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had never physically been addicted to any drugs. It was always emotional or, mental addiction, where I used it to cope. But opioids, I quickly became physically addicted. And I was able to obtain a prescription fairly easily through some lower back issues that I had on my medical records. And so it became all consuming. I was about 2 years, I did a tremendous amount of opioids and pills, mainly pills, and to the point where I was snorting them, any way I could get them, fast to hit my system, because withdrawal is a very nasty thing from opioids. So I had spiraled so low that I wasn't getting out of bed for days at a time. I would just lay there and full of sweat.
Wow.
Body aches beyond explanation. And I couldn't function literally without the drugs. I would wake up at 7 and drink vodka, just to try and ease the pain of withdrawal. And then I'd just chase more pills, and I had to have it to function, to not feel like death. So that, I think we knew the end was near for me when I couldn't hold water down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I would try and drink water, and within minutes I would throw up yellow stomach bile. So I knew that's obviously, we knew we were close to death. And it was a very ugly, dark, disgusting, and lonely place to be. And my family just, kept trying to come over and help. What can we do? How are we going to fix this, Aaron? You have to go to rehab. We've got to do something. You're going to die. And one day my mother came walking into my room and more or less said, stand up, son, you're going to rehab. And she walked in and she packed my bag and she drove me to the airport, and she made all the arrangements. And she remembered that I had read a book years before that was written by the Passages founders. And she remembered me reading this book, and that I had kind of resonated with their philosophies a little bit about how it isn't, you can break the cycle of addiction permanently. And they believe that addiction is caused by there's an underlying cause to addiction. And when you heal that, they believe you can be set free from it. And that was very interesting to me, because it was like I never heard that type of thinking before. I didn't want to be an addict. I didn't want to be stuck with this for the rest of my life. It seemed like a hard thing to be stuck with addiction forever. In fact, I'd almost rather, I don't know, for me that didn't work. And so anyway, she drove me to the airport, dropped me off, and I can only imagine what she felt, watching her son walk out of a car, completely high, hooked on pills and at death's doorstep. Probably knowing if she never see her son again, But my mom and dad were instrumental in getting me to rehab. And I remember getting the passages, and I went through detox. And I remember about the 5th day out of detox, I remember coming out of my room, and I just couldn't believe I was alive. I couldn't believe I was alive and not addicted to drugs. And I broke down, and had quite an emotional, tidal wave. I'm not addicted to drugs for the first time in a long time, and I was in beautiful California, and the sun was shining in my face, and I was safe, and I was around people that understood me, and I felt like I was in a place of healing.
Right.
And I became obsessed at that moment with answering my why question, meaning I had to know why that I was using drugs and alcohol. I wanted to know why I was doing it. And I really did, for the next couple days, weeks, become obsessed with that question, where I couldn't stop thinking about why are you doing this? Because it didn't make any sense anymore. I mean, I almost died, hurt everyone, lost everyone. I pushed everything in my life. I'd run my business in the ground. It didn't make sense, but I was doing it anyway. So I was like, why? And I had a spiritual awakening at passages where I really was able to connect the dots and understand why I was doing it. Yeah. It was a powerful moment when I realized why I was doing what I was doing. And without going into a ton of detail here, more or less, Daniel, I realized that I had been looking at a lot of the things in my past as bad. I'd had them in quotations as bad, when in fact they were really perfectly placed events in my life.
Right.
And people. Yeah. That I had perceived as bad. Therefore, I wanted to escape from them, which led me to drugs and alcohol, because that's the ultimate form of escapism, is addiction. And so I really went through all of the events in my life that I'd categorized as bad or harmful or whatever, and I looked at them differently for the first time. I'm like, wait a minute. Were those bullies really bad, or did they teach me something that I now use in my life? Was that religion thing really bad, or did it teach me some things that I needed in my life? Were those people, those events, were they all bad, or did I need those in my life to become the person I am today?
Yeah.
All right? Yeah. And it really hit me, man. I took off like a rocket, where I felt like I was really at peace with all of the people and things in my past. Like I felt like they had all benefited me somehow versus hurt me.
Right.
And that was like this liberating feeling. I was like, oh my gosh, there really aren't bad things in life. There's just events. And how I was reacting to them was determining my outcome.
Yep. There's always, I know you want to drink some water while you drink that. I can say this. There's, my listeners obviously know my story, and we haven't talked much, but everything from being molested as a kid, being bullied as well, being molested by my bullies, and then being outed at 17, HIV, cancer, addiction, everything that's come in my life. On paper, I should be like in a fetal position in my apartment in the shower crying, because based on all the actions, like people would say, how can you handle all that? But it's that moment, like what you just said, it's looking at every single situation as an individual learning lesson. What did I learn from it? Did I learn anything from it? Or was it just an event that happened? Okay, it just happened. Erase it. I learned something from it, mark it down. And then by the time you're done analyzing your life up to wherever you are now, you're like, oh my God, all this stuff that I've learned that I'm not using to benefit me.
Right. And help others.
Yeah. I'm using it to hurt myself. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to get to that, like the ripple effect. Yeah. If I'm hurting myself, it's going to hurt other people.
For sure.
If I learn from it, others will learn from it too.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. That's a similar transformation that I went through. I stopped being the victim, and I stopped hating myself, and I started looking at all these events and people so differently, like a completely different set of glasses. And I stopped given all of these things and events the middle finger, and I started thanking them for what they had done for me in my life. And it was so freeing. I felt for the first time like I wasn't a slave, to this pain and this resentment and this anger. I just felt free for the first time in my life, and full of love, and mainly for myself, but for others that had come in my life and around my life. Because one of the things I explain to a lot of people I work with today is how you're really a slave to the people and events that you're that you're holding on to, that are allowing you to harm yourself, like you were saying. Yeah. I was drinking, using drugs, which was really hurting me and everyone around me over people and things that I was perceiving incorrectly.
Right.
And so it was the day I felt freedom like I never felt. I felt like I was no longer a slave to these people and things. I felt like, wow, I'm grateful for them in a very pure way. I was grateful to all of them and all those things, no matter how crappy at the time they may have seemed.
Well, it's these invisible handcuffs that we put on ourselves, and it's like my boyfriend says, it's like, get up the cross, we need the wood. It's like, stop being such a martyr about things. Like, you're not that person anymore. You've overcome those situations. What are you going to do with it now? Again, like HIV and cancer, which I'm an advocate about, they are perceived as negative things, but I'm not going to let them make me negative. Sure. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Oh, definitely. And I think whenever you are able to come to that point in your life where you've just had enough and you no longer want to be the victim, and you no longer want to hate, have anger and resentment and all these guilt and all these things, these emotions that eventually lead up to the point where you want out, you want to escape, which usually means drugs and alcohol or some form of unhealthy behavior, escape. It's just so amazing how I was filled with gratitude, and I just wanted to, in a weird way, thank some people. In fact, this is a true story. I wrote my ex-wife, who we're friends today. We get along great. She's an amazing mother. I wrote her a thank you letter while I was in rehab. And I truly thanked her for everything she'd ever done and all the lessons I learned. Tough or not, but I learned a lot of lessons in that relationship. Things I use today. I learned what I didn't want in a relationship. I learned what I didn't like about myself in a relationship. I learned who I like and don't like as far as a partner. And she taught me some things, so I was grateful to, and she gave me my son, which was absolutely my best friend in the whole world. That I had become, he was everything to me at the time. So how could I be mad at her anymore? I loved her for what she did for me. I used to hate her. And I used to really resent her and have a lot of anger, which only harmed me. Yeah. So
I'm going to hate you. Yeah. Prove you less.
And that ultimately harmed me. And I was able to swing that pendulum so far from just complete disdain and anger and hate for her to love and appreciation and gratitude and like a big thank you. And that, like I wrote in that letter.
Just for everybody listening, again, we're talking to Aaron Barnes, sober coach, but just so everybody know, it doesn't mean that you don't go through those emotions again. Like there is a days when you're like, life, but I believe that the more you practice letting go of the victim label, the shorter time you hold on to resentment and anger.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, because what I was able to do, Daniel, was I was able to realize that everything in my past, I'd come to terms with it, like, wow, those things somehow benefited me in a way. Like they somehow taught me something. So the way I looked at my future, because it was not logical to come to terms with all of the events and people in my past and not have that same perception of my future. Does that make sense? Like I was like, that'd be weird to say, well, I'm good with everything that happened in my past. I see why I see it now. But in my future, I'm going to pick and choose. Yeah. Right? I'm going to pick and choose what's bad and who's bad. I'm going to go, no. In fact, there's a motto that I live by. It's everything that happens to me is the best possible thing that can happen to me. Yep. And I live by it. And I'm human, like you said. I still have those days I'm like, oh, man, this sucks. But I'm a human. And, it's just you can't help those certain times. But like you said, it's a practice. The quicker I'm able to change my perception about an event, one of the truest things that I believe in this life is we have zero control over people and events, literally zero control. but we have 100% control over our reaction to those people and things.
Yes.
That's the empowerment. That's the empowerment of when you realize, I can't control things, but I can control my reaction to those things. That's empowerment.
Yeah.
And that's how weird how and there's many examples I could give you, but it really, that's how I live my life, is that, sometimes things stink, but my reaction to this is going to really determine the outcome.
Yeah.
And that's how you feel a sense of strength.
Yeah.
And
we're talking about true stories. I've been sick this week with a cold, just finally got over it. But I stopped at the grocery store late early this week to get some stuff so I wouldn't have to leave the house. And this lady in front of me, there was plenty of room between me and her and the person in front of her. But the lady behind me went to get her stuff on. She was carrying a little basket. She was trying to get her stuff on the line. So I took a step forward in order to be nice to the lady behind me.
Right.
Where the lady in front of me was like, "You're getting too close." And I was like, "Well, I'm trying to be nice to the lady behind me." She's like, "Well, you're too close to me." And I'm like, "Well, you can take a step forward." And she's like, "Well, I'm going to be too close to him." And I was like, whatever. I was not feeling well at that moment. I was like, okay, whatever. And then under my breath, I go, "You're not even my type." And she looked at me. She goes, "What did you say?" I said, "Nothing." I said, "I'm done with this conversation." And I was ready to go viral. I'm like, somebody pull out a phone, record this, because I'm about to go off on this lady. But had I been catching that cold, I probably would have. But in the moment, I thought, what do you really, like, you can't control how she feels. Maybe she doesn't like people near her. Maybe she has a phobia. Maybe she's just uncomfortable with men.
You never know.
Whatever. I'm like, just shut up. Just let her have her moment. And then she was trying to get money from the cashier, and it wasn't working. And she finally walked away, and the guy goes, "What was up with that lady?" I'm like, "Bad energy." I'm like, "It's just her bad energy."
Yeah.
I got in my car, and of course I stewed on it for a couple of minutes. I was going to do a video about it, and my phone wouldn't work. And it took me about 10 minutes to get home before my phone reconnected. And I was like, okay, so I wasn't meant to bitch about it either. So
Cool down, Pierce.
yeah. So once I got home and had my chocolates, I was like, okay, now I can laugh about it. But
You go through all these events where I guess there's a thing of letting stuff go.
yeah,
Because I'm like, why would I want to hurt me?
yeah. But
I'm
12 years ago,
different mindset.
I would have been like,
Yeah.
listen here, lady. Yeah.
Things would have gone south, which could have been escalated, and then whatever, and next thing, and then when in fact it could have gone as it did, nothing happened. You moved on, doing your own things, and like you said, you don't know what she was going through. So, it's just it does take practice. I didn't get to my way overnight of doing things, and so it didn't change it necessarily overnight. But I did know one very powerful thing that happened in that spiritual awakening, Daniel, was I knew that without a shadow of a doubt, whenever I kind of had that moment of clarity, that I would never drink or use again. And, I know some people challenge that, like, oh, you don't ever say that. That's too. I go, well, you don't understand. I don't want drugs and alcohol in my life anymore. I don't want to feel differently.
Yeah.
Because if you believe that everything that happens to you is for your benefit somehow, some way, why do you want to escape from it? If you're of the true mindset that things happen and they're meant to take you in the journey that you were meant to go, your reaction is going to determine something.
Yeah.
Do you want to escape? My answer is no. I don't want to escape from things that life wants me to learn and feel. I really, truly don't.
Yeah.
I don't have to like everything, woo, just stub my toe. Woo. That's not what I'm saying. So I lost the desire to escape, which means I lost the desire to drink and use.
There's a Facebook thing that I just posted a couple of days ago that says, being positive minded doesn't mean every day is great. It's easier to get out of a bad situation. Yeah. But I agree with you. I'm human, and we say never.
Yeah.
But I live a very spiritual life. I do Reiki. I'm a Reiki master. I do card readings for people. I do energy work.
Yeah.
If I include alcohol and drugs into my life again, I won't be able to do that anymore. I won't be able to help people the way that I do spiritually. So why would I really want to include it? So I get you. And then there's people that argue. I'm like, yes, we're human, and something can happen. There's always a possibility. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
One thing I know, though, is no one ever poured alcohol down my throat, and no one ever blew drugs up my nose. I did that.
Yeah.
So in the end, it's a choice, right?
Yeah.
In the end, I choose that I don't want to drink or use.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, in the end, I know we try and sometimes our society goes, well, you're this, or you have the predisposition to genetic whatever, or but in the end, no one ever forced me to do these things. I chose through my need to escape to consume drugs and alcohol.
I find it similar to the miracle syndrome. You go to church, the priests tell you about miracles, or the ministers, or whatever church or synagogue, whatever. We talk about miracles, we talk about the coming, we talk about the lights, and then when somebody comes and says, I think I just lived a miracle, and they're like, nope.
Yeah. Nah.
Nope. Can't happen.
Yeah.
Not to you.
Yeah.
And you're like, why not? Like I think sobriety is kind of along the same way. We want people I'll take me. People wanted me to be sober. So when I went to rehab, it was like, you need help. And then when I got it, they were like, oh, it's not going to last.
Yeah.
Why not?
No, that's a funny, and I think a lot of people that have tried to quit, not that they have ill will towards you, but it's almost like they can't quit. So like, surely you can't. Surely you can't mean that you truly are done.
Right.
I'm like, but I don't want drugs and alcohol in my life. Now, do I sit around my lazy butt and isolate from people and not? No. That's the opposite of how you should live in recovery. I work out every day. I surround myself with incredible people that are positive and supporting and loving and fun. I eat a healthy diet. I don't eat junk food. I stay away from sugar. So I feed my body good nutrition. I volunteer. I'm a huge advocate for volunteer work because it fills your soul with color. And it's just amazing how there's a simple formula to sobriety. I know a lot of people challenge this, and that's okay. There is a simple formula to sobriety. But if you leave any piece of the formula out, the answer is really not there.
Yeah.
And it's not a complicated formula. It's figuring out why you were drinking and using to begin with. Find a way to come to not only peace with, but love your why. Love your why. Love your demons, they call it. And then live a healthy, active, sustainable, sober lifestyle.
Yeah. We used to call it, I kind of brought that term, like this is my recipe for right now. Like this is what I need to stay sober today. And it changes on days. I suffer from anxiety and panic attacks. So there's days when I need a little bit more isolation than others just to calm myself down. And there's days where I need more social engagement to not feel so, like for instance, this is my workout. I love people that go to gym. Good for you. Yeah. You fill in my space. You take my spot on that bike. That's good for you. My workout, what keeps me happy is interviewing people. I love hearing stories. Awesome. And then I get to listen to them again at home when I'm editing stuff or tagging them or whatever. So that's my workout. That's what keeps me healthy. Yeah. Listening to people's stories, because I'll listen to this later again and be like, oh my God, I missed that during the conversation, but I'm glad I got to hear it again. And yes. But yes, good for you. You work out. I'll interview people. But you're right. You can't just get clean and sober and expect everything to just happen. You have to put a little bit of
keeps going.
Yeah, that's it.
Life keeps going. So people will say, well, I'm depressed or I'm anxious, or they'll say I'm blah blah blah. And I get it. I'm like, well, what are you doing to resolve those things? Yeah. I'm not saying you're not those things. I'm saying, okay, fine. That's a problem. We'll put that in the problem category. What's the solution? Versus just saying, I am this, therefore I need something for this. What about, well, if you are that, what are you doing holistically to resolve that? Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Like, everyone's like, well, I take this pill and that pill. I'm like, look, that's not addressing the underlying cause of why you feel this way to begin with. Yeah. And for me, anxiety, the gym, man, gets the wiggles out for me. It releases stress and pent up energy. volunteer work. It makes my soul sing, and it feels good, and it makes me pat myself on the back, like, hey man, you did it, buddy, good job, man. And then eating good, I feel good, and I sleep well, all these things. It's just like, it seems so now, of course now, getting sober, Daniel, hardest thing I ever did.
Yep.
Staying sober, for me, is not.
It's the easy part. Now this week I had a conference today is Sunday, on Thursday, and it was at Disneyland, and on the way out they had these, I don't really like Rice Krispie treats. I don't like them, but they had these Mickey Mouse shaped chocolate Rice Krispie treats. And I was like, damn it. And they were like, would you like what I'm making? And I was about to be really like, I don't like them, thank you anyway. But I was like, they're offering you, I was on a panel. They're like, they're offering you this because you did a good job. I'm like, you know what? Thank you. I'll take it. I took it home, forgot about it. I threw it in a bag with some gifts that they gave me, forgot about it. In the evening, I'm pulling out the stuff to see what was in the gift bag, and the Rice Krispie treat is wrapped. And then I'm like, oh. I'm like, well, I don't really like Rice Krispie treats, but I was tired, and I know I was coming down from the sick. So I put my feet on the massager.
Nice.
I got my Rice Krispie treat, turned on the TV.
Happy play.
Put on some ghost shows that I like. And I even took a picture on Facebook. I'm like, I deserve this today. I deserve it. And that calmed down a little bit of my anxiety, because I'm not very good at relaxing. I'm a workaholic. I don't know how to relax. But I tell you what, that's part of my recovery system, is that every once in a while, I've got to look at myself in the mirror and go, dude, you're not feeling physically well. You've been busting your ass all week. It was Thursday, Friday, I had a day off, completely day off. It's like, tomorrow you're off. Enjoy this moment. Just give yourself a break and enjoy it. And man, I did. Yeah. Thank you, Disneyland. That was a really good Rice Krispie treat. Maybe another year before I eat one, but that was good. We're at the 45-minute mark now.
Okay. Fast forward here to the sober coach.
Yes.
2 years after I got home from rehab, I was killing it, feeling good. Life's just, believe it or not, I reconnected with one of my daughters at this point. My relationship with my son it was never horrible, but it had reached new heights of, we were just inseparable. Yeah. But he saw the transformation, of course, and then I would not too long after I reconnected with my other daughter. So, 2 years after I got home, I knew there was something inside of me was really barking at me, going, hey man, I want to help others do this. Because I hadn't just gotten sober, I'd gotten uber sober. I was in shape, and I was happy, and I had good relationships, and my kids were coming. I'm like, man, this is pretty good. I want to kind of give this gift to someone else. I want someone else. Here, take this, Yeah. I kind of really, to pay it forward. I was like, I want to help. I want others to feel what I feel about recovery. And I reached up, picked up the phone, called my counselor from Passages. We were still in contact, and he's like, hey man, have you ever thought about being a sober coach? I was like, a what? What's that? And sure enough, I hung up the phone, Googled it. 2 weeks later, I was getting certified, flew all over the country, got a couple certifications. Went back and worked at Passages in the summer of 17. So I actually got to work at a treatment center where I got sober. That was one of the most incredible experiences I can ever describe. Southern California, living in the summer. And I came home, and my coaching business took off like wildfire. Did a couple of news interviews. The news came calling, was interested in what I was doing. And business just exploded as far as helping people and traveling all over the country. So today I'm a sober coach, a sober companion. I live with people who are really in recovery to help them completely transform their life whenever they just can't do it on their own. They're asking me to come stay with them for a short stay to more or less help them rebuild their life from the ground up. Of course, teach them some things that I've seen not only be successful in my own recovery, but people I've worked with all over the world, I've been able to share. I consider myself like a recovery hub. You know what I mean? I'm like, hey, I've seen this work. Have you thought about this? And I'm able to put this all into like kind of a neat package and program. And then I'm a sober transporter. I transport people to and from rehab safely from point A to point B.
Wow. Well, I know that just listening to you, folks know I started a new series called Put It Together Conversations, where we do live chats on Facebook so that people who have questions about, and I'm starting to talk to life coaches therapists that have some positive changes that people can make.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to include you in the list of that.
I'd love to be part of it. I'm on team recovery, Daniel. I mean, if it has to do with sobriety, you can count me in.
Cool.
I fully support any pathway to recovery because we're all going for the same finish line.
Yeah.
How you get there, I just, as long as you get there.
Yeah.
But I'm very grateful for all of the people who stood by me in my life, who never gave up on me, who gave me 10,000 second chances. And so what I do now in my recovery is I show them I'm sorry. I no longer tell them. And I think,
oh my God, that's good. Yes.
Yeah, I think they all know that, how my trying to make right what I did so wrong for so long and through my actions and not my words. I try and help as many people as I can. I have the privilege of working with people all over the world. And, like you said, your interviewing for you is coaching and companion work for me. I just, working with people in recovery, recovering addicts are very special individuals. They know what pain feels like, deep, dark pain. And when I meet another person in recovery, I almost have like an immediate bond with them because I'm like, you too, how do you get it? You know what pain, deep pain feels like. And then also, you know, I think they're very creative and talented and loving and forgiving and empathetic people because they know what it's like. And it's just to surround myself with those individuals on a daily basis. I feel like I'm the luckiest guy in the world to do what I do. Awesome.
All right. So here is, we're got a little over time. So, the conversation so good. At about this time, I asked my guests to share some words of wisdom with my listeners. So, Aaron Barnes, what words of wisdom do you have?
Finding the courage to ask for help. You know, there is life after addiction. And if you can use myself or as an example that I'm in the best physical, spiritual, mental, and emotional condition of my life at 43 years old. When I was 38 years old, I was suicidal. I was addicted to drugs, bedridden, and I was ready to throw in the towel. And like I said, I had no answer for the damage I had created. Everything has come back to me and then some in recovery. So please have the courage to ask for help and do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. Everything's on the table when you get sober. No matter what it takes, everything is on the table. Sobriety is beautiful. Recovery is possible. It is worth it. And,
In the book of Aaron Barnes' life, what is the first sentence?
Never give up.
Cool. And if you could name this episode, what would you call it?
Full transparency.
Nice. I like that. And the last couple of questions, just if you could go back and talk to yourself before you got in that frame, what would you tell yourself?
I think mainly that don't be afraid. I was afraid. I didn't know who I was going to be, man. I had no idea what life was going to be like sober. But just don't be afraid and thank you. I tell myself thank you. Yeah. It's been quite a journey. Yeah, it's been quite a journey. I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
I think that it takes a good journey to get us to that end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And go, that was crazy, but it was cool. Like,
yeah, that was crazy. Can't believe I'm alive.
And if there's any parents out there listening who have, not just parents, there's a person out there who is connected to somebody who's going through the tunnel at the moment, what would you tell them?
As hard as it may seem, I deal with a lot of families, as you can probably imagine, is they're at their wits' end, you know. There's always hope. There's always hope. Yeah. And, but as a family, you must take care of yourself too, you know. These families are so negatively impacted by addiction, you have to take care of yourself too, you know, and you can't get in necessarily in the ditches with them because they don't want to be an addict deep down. They don't want to do this. They're just consumed by, you know, the need to escape and drugs and alcohol. So, but there's always hope. Never give up hope. And I think oftentimes we do tell addicts and alcoholics in our life what they need. We don't always ask them what they need.
Right.
You need to do this. You need to stop doing that. How about what do you need? And how can I help you get it?
I remember being in rehab, and hello to Bart Bay Area Recovery Center down in Dickinson, Texas. That's where I got clean sober.
Oh, nice.
I was there for 90 days. There were guys that were coming in for a couple of weeks, a month, but I got to see a lot of people walk through there. And one of the best things was that it was both a 12-step and a spiritual space. So they welcomed you to be wherever you needed to make your recovery transition easier.
Yeah.
And that was one of the first things that I learned was just because I was going through one process, it was not going to work for everybody.
Right.
And the moment that they were setting me up with somebody new, I was like, what do you want? What's going on with you? Like, what do you want? What do you need? Because I'm not going to just give you all this stuff and then you're not going to use it. What do you need so we can, like, let's get to the bottom of this quicker.
Yeah.
And not baby people. I learned to not be babied because my first sponsor was this 6'5" redneck from Dickinson, Texas, and he had no sympathy for me. Like, nothing I threw at him would stick. Like, me being gay, me being positive, me being Mexican. It was like, that has nothing to do with your addiction. Shut up. And I was like, you don't understand me. And he taught me tough love, and I lived by that. I'm like,
awesome. Yeah.
Like I would say this, and then this is my, they broke me down. I was 36 when I went to rehab. They broke me down. I was a game of Jenga, and they didn't even start the game. They just knocked me down. And then they were like, now put yourself back together and leave the pieces out that you don't need. And I was like, how am I supposed to put myself back together? Like, I don't know. And they're like, you know the stuff that you don't need in your life anymore. And mind you, it was like, once I put it back together, there were pieces left over. And I was like, I don't need resentment. I don't need anger. I don't need hate. I don't need blaming other people for shit. Like, this is my life. And okay, now your game is ready to play. And I was like, huh. So I tell everybody anybody who comes to me for like recovery stuff, I'm like, boom, knock you down.
Yeah.
Now build yourself up. And I honestly believe that it was the best summer of my life because I went in June 21st to August 21st. Things that you remember, right? You remember exactly.
Yeah.
And that summer is the summer I became a man. I became a man at 36.
Wow.
And
I know that. Yeah. 38. So we're certainly,
So I soberly lived. And I'm so glad we got to do this in person because I don't think I would have had this connection had it been online.
Yeah, it's amazing. As I said, I leave today, but every year I come back on my sober date and visit California. I speak at Passages when I come back to the group. I go to the beach where, I sit down and had some revelations in my life. I go to eat at the restaurant that I loved when I was in rehab. I kind of go to relive that every year. It's kind of my reflection, my time to reflect about how much has happened since I got sober, how beautiful of a journey it's been, and how lucky I am to be here. And then in Southern California, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, can't beat it. Yeah. People tell me, it's like, how have you maintained? I'm like, well, I've lived in Laguna Beach for 10 years.
Yeah,
it's not difficult to stay on your lane when
when you come up and 10 feet of snow and freezing cold. And,
So before we go, tell people how they can find you.
So my website's pretty straightforward. It's sobercoaching.com. My Instagram, stuff like that, is just Sober Coaching Aaron. Facebook, stuff like that. So yeah, I'm pretty easy to find because Sober Coaching is my website.
Yes. And we'll put that online for all of you to find when you're ready. Any last words or comments for the people listening?
very grateful for the opportunity. Anytime I have a chance like this to speak about, recovery and how it is possible and reach, spread hope. I love giving hope to the hopeless. And so thank you for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. So for everybody out there listening, we've been talking to sober coach Aaron Barnes. As most shows, you guys know that I say the word stalk. I really don't stalk people, but I follow people that I enjoy. I follow people that I respect, people that are doing something, putting something positive into the stream of life, per se. And Aaron Barnes, by all means, I follow him, and I'm like, yes. If you're out there and you're struggling, we are two examples of, not that we're the example, so I'm not going to put myself in that pedestal, but we're examples of if you do what's right for you, if you do right by you, you will succeed. If we, and I'm sure you heard the story, we finally at some point decided I am not a victim of circumstances. I will no longer punish myself for situations that I put myself in. I will learn and I will use them to my benefit. So if you are struggling with addiction, and there are tons of addictions out there, if you're struggling with anything, if you're the family member, friend, boss of anybody out there that is struggling and you don't know what to say or what to do, get in touch with us. We probably can give you some words of wisdom to help them along the way. But my biggest take from my years is if you're not ready, it's not going to work. So put your mind in a place where you're ready. And I always tell this to friends of mine who go back out for more research. It's like, you're just not ready. Stop blaming yourself for not being ready and just come back when you are. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, Aaron, thanks so much.
Thank you.
For doing the show.
Thank you.
For everybody listening, go check us out at normalagenda.com. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Check out on Facebook, Put It Together Podcast, where you can find more information on my guests. Also, we update. As I look through their pages, I update what they're up to, and you can find it on there. If you're interested, we have Put It Together Conversations, which is a Facebook Live interviews. You can find those on that page. Also, Life Coach Tommy is coming back, so we'll have more of him. What else? Oh, yeah, Better You workshops. We're doing more. I've been a little busy, but we're going to do more Better You workshops live on that page, so check it out. And if you're interested, I can come to your place and do live workshops for you guys. For now, this is Daniel Garza saying, hey, put it together.
This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together. This is how I put it together.
Subscribe to Put It Together on iTunes, Stitcher, and at abnormalentertainment.com/putittogether. Find Put It Together on Facebook and tweet Daniel at Lil Messican, LILMESICAN. And for more podcasts, comics, books, movies, and more, head to abnormalentertainment.com.
You've been listening to the Abnormal Entertainment Network.